Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler, episode number 363, Open Source Software is Politics. Brought to you by ServerPress, Maker's Desktop Server. Check them out over at serverpress.com. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog.
I'm Steve Zango. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
I'm Sadie Reed. I make WordPress, teach WordPress, preach WordPress at Sadie Reed Media on all the things.
My name is Russell Aaron. I do things with WordPress in Las Vegas.
It's Jason Cosper, aka Fat Mullenweg.
Go support us over on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/WPwatercooler. And hit the subscribe button and click the bell. Did you know there's a bell? There's a bell. You should go check it out. Go
you
look
want
at
to ring our bell?
Go like right down below and click the bell. And if you're on Facebook, there's no bell, so sorry.
See, now I'm just going to confuse that with Animal Crossing. I'm like,
I know, right?
Are you giving us bells?
I'm all about Animal Crossing.
It's addicting. Anyway, that's not the point of this show.
But it can be.
No, it is not.
Let's talk about how Animal Crossing is a way easier topic than the topic we're going to attempt to handle today. We're like, but all we have to do is dig up some flowers. I could do that.
And how, I mean, if you want to talk Animal Crossing, we need to talk about how Tom Nook should be overthrown because
It's true.
I mean,
his economic system is really skewed.
Yeah, he has a capitalist bent. That's actually a really good intro into our topic. But we wanted to mention first before we jump into this one, and I guess I'm mentioning it, ding, that we have been dark for the past 2 weeks. That was not accidental. That was intentional. We wanted to make room for the conversations that were happening and hopefully are still happening and that we're also trying to have nationwide, worldwide, about Black Lives Matter and about police brutality and about the general state of our country in terms of racism and just politics in general and the politics of pain and hate, which is where we seem to be as a country. So we were intentionally dark to create space for that, and we're trying to come back online. You know, we intentionally did not talk about the coronavirus because everyone was over that topic, but this is something we're intentionally talking about.
Yeah.
Because we think that it's important collectively. Incidentally, that is not why Steve is not here today. It's not like he opted out of this conversation.
Nothing like that, no.
Neither did Russ, surprisingly. Just kidding. But
we all got jobs. We all got jobs. We all got stuff to do. Just so happens I have Friday off. Just how it works out.
They weren't like trying to like not be a part of this conversation. So I just wanted to point that out too. So yeah, I just wanted to add that as a little like front load that onto our conversation so that our listeners know that we weren't just like, you know, taking a vacay and hanging out. We were trying to listen and be good stewards of our place in the community and you know, not just talk about nonsense or whatever. Not nonsense, obviously. Well, we do talk about nonsense, but not just talk about random tech stuff while a movement is happening. So
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good look to be cracking jokes while the world is catching on fire.
Yeah, although I like making jokes about the world catching on fire.
Sure.
You know, you got to keep it light. You don't actually have to keep it light. This has been a really deep moment for our country, and you know, I was just
there's layers to it because of having COVID-19 happening and having this kind of intermixed and having people standing next to each other while they're protesting. And is protesting more important than being safe? Are you being safe? Are you being safe anyhow? Like all the things just started all piling up, and you just go like, go do it if you can do it. And if you can't do it, then there's other ways you can do it as well. And I love that people took what they could and went with it. So,
and hopefully we and others are going to continue to do that because this is not a solved problem after a week or 10 days or anything. So, you know, this is something we have to keep talking about because, especially in our world, even just you can see through the demographics of this show, that, I always make a joke. I never make this joke actually on the air, but I'm going to make it today, where I'm like, WordPress so white. But I'm making a commitment to talk more openly about race. A lot of as white people, I can speak for us here as white people, we are really programmed to not talk about race. It's like impolite. It's like not a good thing, but that is a form of erasure and a form of privilege. And so, even if it's super uncomfortable to bring things up, I think that's, what we have to do now, and say things like, hey, this group of people is too white. And obviously we are lacking in diversity, even in gender. She says, as the token woman. But so that's an ongoing process, because we also don't want to tokenize people and bring people in, just to be like, look what we're doing. Aren't we great? And virtue signaling. So it's a balance. And I think I can speak for us here on the show that we're going to continue to try to just move forward and work with that and incorporate, just be aware of that as much as we possibly can. We've tried to be aware of that on an ongoing basis, but it's hard.
On multiple fronts. It's not just the way the person looks, or the way the person sounds, or the way the person presents, or the way that person, any of that. It really comes down to like, we need more people that do web development. We need more people that do web design. Like, we need any of those things as well. So it becomes all encompassing piece of it. And it's a tricky part when you're attempting to find people to come on the show, because you're wanting to.
Also, this is free, labor.
Yeah.
So people to come spend their time to do things, so that can be a difficult ask also. Right.
And I'm definitely not sitting in some tower someplace on a stack of cash, just going like, no, that's not how this. That's not how this network works. There are some other ones out there that do that, but that's not me.
I just had this image of you as Scrooge McDuck. Like,
well, it'd be a very small pile of money.
Your coinage.
So, say, how do you want to kind of start us off here? Kick us off with a little bit of an open topic that we can kind of discuss, and then we can work our way through it.
Well, there's a lot of directions this can go, but I think it's important to acknowledge kind of our title and our main topic, which is that open source software is political, and it is almost more political. Something that Morten says. Why can I never remember his last name when it's important?
Brand Hendrickson. Yeah.
Yeah. He, has really started to push the concept code is political. It's not just code is poetry. Code is political. But especially in software, open source communities, because we make, in theory, we can get into that conversation too, but we in theory make the rules. We in theory can bring the people in. We in theory can choose the direction of that software, the makeup of our leaders. And so we have much more power as just individuals participating in that community than a lot of people, than we do over, what Apple does, or what, other actual companies do. And, they are diversifying their workforce or whatever. And I would argue that their employees don't even really have a lot of power over that. It's all about the top brass. But in open source software, we have the opportunity to be the change, that we wish to see in our communities, to paraphrase Gandhi, and who also is problematic. So we don't want to get into that. But we have that opportunity. And so I think because we have that opportunity, we also have that obligation. So we have to try even harder, because it is up to us to make our community into what we want it to be, and to exemplify the demographics and the ethos that we want to see reflected in our community. So we have the power, right, the opportunity, and the obligation. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure on how we do all that. But that's been working on that. There's been some really great articles, though, that have come out over the past week that we could talk about. Did y'all read those? I know, Cosper, you linked us some of those. Did you actually read them, or are you just checking them out?
Oh no, I just checked. No, I read all of them. I've been trying to. I will say and kind of revisit something that Say had said, which is I've said something for years when I tell someone, oh, like we'll meet up at this word camp, back when word camps were still a thing that people could go to. I say, just look for the overweight guy with a beard. That is the overweight white guy with a beard. That is the majority of people.
His name may be Jason. I don't know.
Yeah, right. It's easy to spot me. I'm the overweight white guy with a beard. A lot of people look like me. A lot of people look like Tucker. Not calling you overweight, just saying.
That's what I'm saying. But it may be the guy may be named Jason. I don't know. It might be you. It might be me.
Right. It's a very popular name, especially for people our age. But I really think it's kind of interesting, and there's been some argument about this over the years. Open source software is a political thing. Even just the idea of open source software. Here is the thing that people have built and contributed and worked on, and they're giving it away for free so other people can build on it. Other people can, do what they need to do on top of it. In that way, and I'd be interested to hear what y'all think of this, but I sort of see open source software as sort of a socialist concept, something where we're actually trying to make the world a better place by putting this software out there. And I know that there are a lot of political sites that do not agree with socialism as a concept, that run WordPress, that run things like that. It's really interesting to see that software like WordPress that gives things away that only works and keeps growing because of all of the people who contribute to it, are being used to kind of fling around some of the hateful speech that we see out there.
Right.
Yeah, you kind of made 2 points there, so I'd like to separate them because
sure.
When you're talking about socialism, let's get now we're really getting political. And how that's kind of the model that we're dealing with, right? But it's interesting to think about that the ethos or the motto or what tagline, whatever you want to call it, mission of WordPress is democratize publishing, because I would argue that we do not have a democracy within the WordPress community. I'm not even talking about the whole ecosystem. I'm literally talking about the .org community. It should really be socialized publishing, because democracy as a political entity indicates that there's a vote and there are representatives, and that's how that works. And that is not necessarily how the WordPress community works at all. There's like official votes. It's more like, you participate and it goes out to everyone, even if you don't participate and whatnot. So it is much more of a socialist model. And that's something that I think is really part of the conflict that happens with the community, because, we all we understand that it's this kind of socialist model without saying that, but at the same time, it doesn't always work like that. And there's that friction there between, maybe it's even just between, what the concept of a democracy is versus the concept of socialism.
It's really hard to say that WordPress democratizes publishing when the head of WordPress, the benevolent dictator for life, I believe, is
that's the actual title. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're actually very dictatorship, but in name. Yeah.
Sure.
That's always been a little tongue-in-cheek, right? And that comes from old tech. Like, that's an old tech saying, isn't it? Like the
right.
Dictator, that comes from Do you know? Like that's not like WordPress didn't create that concept of the benevolent dictator. I mean, obviously not in a global sense, but also within a software sense. WordPress did not create that, right? It comes from open source software specifically. More like the founder of a software project kind of has that role. Is that accurate? Are you being Steve and Googling that right now?
Yeah, I'm actually Wikipediaing it.
Yeah, to my knowledge, this is not something that is like exclusive to the there it is, see? Open source software leaders.
Yep.
From before even WordPress, was a thing.
Oh yeah, and there's plenty of projects that have had this, this type of situation. But I think with,
by the way, just out of curiosity,
what's that?
I just wanted to see if Matt was on that list. Was on this list of benevolent.
Yes, he is.
There he is.
It's a content management framework.
So anyway, the point being is we do have some clash of political ideologies happening here. So not too far into that, but I think that it also the socialist kind of concept where we're able to have control over it, and it is of the people in a real, and by the people in a different way. That is what gives us the power. So I guess we can just ignore the benevolent dictator part and maybe kind of push aside the democratizing publishing part and focus on what it acts like as if it is, and say that we can actually make those changes, and we can ask and recruit people for our teams and strive to make sure that the teams that are making up WordPress are integrated, because I think right now a lot of those policies are coming from the top down, so
anyone can contribute to the project.
Yeah.
And if you're really good at it, then you become showcased and you become someone who can do this sort of thing. So I don't know, if you have the skills, then jump in and start doing it, I'd imagine. Tech really is. And WordPress is like one of the nicest places in tech, nicest areas in tech, but it is intimidating. It's still all these white dudes who still have a tech bro mentality. So we feel like we've transcended that. But even as a white woman, I go in there and I feel, sometimes tokenized, sometimes, like, oh, you're just, you must just do marketing, that kind of thing. As opposed to being able to actually, contribute in a real way. So I cannot imagine what that's like for a Black woman or a person of color who's coming into that, especially women of color who are coming into that atmosphere where they're just like having to not only own their own skills and assert themselves because it is a meritocracy, but also to do that in a room full of people who don't look like them and who tend to be the type of person, even if the individuals are not, the person who tends to be in these tech things are not necessarily the most accepting of people who are not like them. So it's definitely, I think we really have to start even more so we should have started already, but more so go out of our way to be essentially anti-racist and anti-sexist, I would also say, but we're really talking about racism more right now. But so I think that's incumbent upon those of us who want to create that kind of a community and a kind of a world and really be proactively anti-racist and not just passively okay with stuff. I think that's going to make the difference.
I mean, I basically feel like, and something that I've been doing a lot lately, besides donating to bail funds and things like that, I've been making sure that I have a regular contribution to something that's important to me and to help with the makeup of WordPress, other open source projects, just even closed source projects, is supporting Black Girls Code. And making sure that we have, BIPOC, Black or Indigenous people of color, like, really represented in in this space, and doing what I can. I know, and I need to consider and think about what I can do as far as mentorship goes to try to help get folks into WordPress who don't look like me. That's something that's very important for me, because people bring their experiences into the software that they build, into the websites that they build, into things like that. And the more people, the more viewpoints that we have. I would really love to see WordPress stop being so damn white.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in general, I think that's actually a great point, because, there's going back to the political spheres, right? So we are in a capitalist society, and the WordPress ecosystem as a whole, not looking just at the open source project as a whole, is, based on capitalism, right? And so at the end of the day, it in some ways has to be for these companies, they have to make decisions based on what's good for their business. And it may be good PR to be a more diverse organization, business. But I think what a lot of businesses have been really slow to realize, and this is certainly true for women in the workforce and women in leadership positions, is that diversity actually makes a better company. Women buy software programs, Black people buy software programs, and so bringing those perspectives in make your product better. So it isn't just about, look, this virtue signaling of, look, we have a Black person on our board. But that, the fact is that diversity can actually strengthen the bottom line. So, I would get into an argument whether we should talk about how great capitalism is. But since that's the system that we're in, that's the framework that we need to look for. And so from that framework for these companies, I think a lot of us and people who work at companies, not me, but all of other people who work at companies, can use that argument that we need these perspectives from a business standpoint. If you can't make the argument from a diversity is good to represent, humanity, if you can't make the humane argument, at the very least, it really should be a business-centered one. This makes our product better.
Where should we start? Let's take us into perspective here. Like, where should we, as a group of people that for the last 8 years here have been putting this stuff together and bringing in, I mean, I've counted, we've had well over 300 people that have been on the show. And we have I get people that hit me up all the time, typically marketers, that hit me up saying, hey, I want to be on the show, I want to talk about my product. And I'm like, that's not kind of what we do here. And I'm not even going to add you into our show notes because you weren't on the show. But how do we go through and change the model and maybe even make it so that these things can be different? The end product can actually be different. There could be more people of color on the show. There could be gender, more gender diversity happening on the show. Like, how do you navigate that when it's not presented like in that way? Like, I don't want to be the white guy running around trying to go and collect other people
that's its own,
that don't look like me. It's its own thing.
Right.
So where does someone begin? Where's the novice like me? Maybe like you and I, you folks as well.
In it, because it's constantly a changing sphere. I've been doing all sorts of this work for a long time, but I feel new about it all the time because it's a developing conversation. So it's kind of like with code, right? You can have learned some stuff about it like 5 years ago, and those are outdated skills. So what you may have learned about racism and the words that you should be using and what's the appropriate thing to do can be outdated in a short span of time. I think what Cosper was saying, and actually donating to and inviting to the table organizations like Black Girls Who Code, Black Girls Who Code is the name of it, right?
Mhm.
And supporting those organizations that are already there doing the work. I think that's probably one of the most important things we can do. Ali Nimmons, I cannot pronounce anyone's last name, wrote a really great article about this, which is interesting because, one of the first things she said is, everybody's been asking me, and that is because she's, a Black woman. And so everyone's like, okay, Black women, now tell us, Black woman, what we should be doing. But she did, thankfully, take it upon herself to give us some instruction and, take that time to write it down so that we can check it out. So those about specifically how to be a WordPress ally, it talks more generally as well, but she has a great framework that she puts there. So we don't all have to ask her individually and ask her to, do all that free work all the time. So read the article for sure. But one of the simpler things I think we can do is follow that list. So at the bottom, if you scroll all the way down, she has a list of diverse people to follow on Twitter, right? So that's literally just diversifying there it is at the top there. Scroll up, right there. A diverse list of WordPress people on Twitter. So just going in there and following all those people is going to give you a different perspective, and it's going to widen your sphere of the people that you're listening to. And even just that action, and when you see someone that doesn't look like you being retweeted or in a conversation, follow them on Twitter, add them to your pool of voices, and that is a really passive, sort of easy way to widen your sphere. And then, of course, how Twitter works. Everyone just slowly gets to know one another as people post and you see things. So that can be a really kind of easy way to do that. And then when if WordCamps ever happen again, or the next time we're at a virtual WordCamp, seek those people out and become actual acquaintances with them, and then, colleagues with them, and support their work and just support them as human beings. Cause I think that's really a lot of this. It's not just how can I fix this right now? A lot of this is, how can this person feel supported in our community? And the way we all feel supported in the community is by having friends and colleagues who will retweet us, or who will recommend us for a speaking position, or will invite us to a table, or introduce us to somebody. And doing all those things that we do naturally as a WordPress community, but making sure that we're doing it with a wider sphere. That's really what the theme of Ali's article was. And I think that's one of the most important things to do in WordPress, because that strengthens our community. And it's not just about tokenism. It's let's make it actually more an accepting community. Let's make it a more comfortable community, because then we feel comfortable all working together. And if we have that environment, then the people who are representing, other faces will bring their friends also. And that is how we do it. No one's gonna, I might be a woman in a thing, and I'm I don't want to bring any of my other women friends in here to come face this. I'll deal with it because, it's my job and I have to, but I'm not come on, ladies, let's go, let's go hang out with a bunch of these white, super fun. But if we could make it into that environment, then I think it will kind of naturally evolve that way also. So I think that's one of the most important things we can do, is to, amplifying those voices. But in order to amplify the voices, we first need to find the voices and hear the voices, and they need to be there. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the best suggestions that, I think comes out of that article that she wrote. And also, just in general, that's something that can be done for your sphere of friends and people in general as well, not just within WordPress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
We got our 1 minute left, so if we want to go for it, Cosper.
I was going to say, absolutely, boosting the voices of people who do not look like you is one of the easiest things you can do. If you follow folks from Ali's list, and I absolutely think you should, really try to. I wish my dog would quit barking. Really try to boost the voices of people. Seek out people who have different experiences than you, and do your best to hear them, to actually read what they're saying. A lot of people will retweet or boost something that they haven't even bothered to read. It's really important that you not only listen, but then you spread that and you take the audience you have and say, here's the thing I think you should look at. Here's a thing that I think that you should pay attention to.
Yeah, so it's not amplifying, it's endorsing. That's actually a really great point, because if you can just be like, oh yeah, go ahead and speak, is different than, hey everyone, I think you should hear what this person has to say. And the difference between those two things is huge.
But refrain, if you can, I tend to like to do is refrain from trying to put what I think about this is no.
Unless it's something that is valuable, and you could say that I think this is important,
right? But not here is how I feel about this. Here is what this makes me. Don't take away from the experience that someone is trying to share from you to give your feelings on the matter. Just share the matter.
And I think we can, I know we are out of time, but we can also advocate, those of us who work at companies or those of us who are on WordPress teams, if there's voices, we can advocate for those people. We can say, how about we get someone from this community? Let's make sure that we get a wider pool of people from this. So we can do that advocating within our existing community as well, while we're widening our sphere at the same time. So both of those things are kind of proactive / passive, but can be done on an ongoing basis, because this has to happen basically forever. This is not like it's over in 2 weeks, now we can just go back to normal. This is like something that we all have to integrate into our lives.
This is like gardening. You plant a seed and then you watch it grow. You have to water it, you have to maintain it, and you have to help it grow. This is not, like you said, a quick fix. This is something that you actively have to work on. And it's something that I know I have been trying to actively work on. I know Say has been actively trying to work on, and Tucker.
Yeah, I have been. I've been stuck in the house too, so I'm doing what I can from my vantage point and from where I'm at.
These conversations. I'm a white woman, so I can have these conversations. You don't have to worry about putting the emotional labor on me. If you have questions, if you need resources, if you want to be like, this doesn't make sense to me, I've done a lot of research and I can maybe help you find more resources. So hit me up on Twitter if you want to have these conversations. DMs are always open. And instead of being like, hey, Black person, explain to me why this, maybe ask a white friend first and see if they can help you figure stuff out before you just go demanding that other people educate you. But I'm happy to put that out there, that I would be happy to have these conversations with anyone in the WordPress community or beyond who want to have these conversations. I welcome them. So feel free to ask at any time. Doors open.
Awesome. Well, hey, I want to say thank you for both of you for obviously being on the show for all the years that we've been on the show. Cosper, I know you didn't start at the very beginning, but that's okay. We don't, we don't criticize here or anything like that. But I really appreciate the two of you wanting to come on the show here and talk about this topic, and we're able to discuss it. And thank you very much. I'm gonna hit the outro, and I want to say I love you both. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. And these are live reads, just so you know. This is patreon.com/WPwatercooler. Go check it out and help us out over there. We'd really appreciate it. Our own Jason Cosper helps us out, so feel free to go do that by helping us out over on patreon.com/WPwatercooler, and subscribe to this content. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. We'd really appreciate it. We're a podcast. You can listen to us as a podcast. There's a bunch of ways you can do it. If you know how podcasts work, feel free to go do that. We'd appreciate it. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.